Let me tell you something that most people over 60 get completely wrong, and it is costing families years of precious time. When you think about dementia, you picture forgetting names, losing keys, walking into a room, and not knowing why. But here's the truth that 30 years in neurology has burned into me. The first sign of dementia is almost never memory loss. The very first warning appears years earlier, sometimes 7 or 8 years before a single memory slips, and you are almost certainly explaining it away right now as normal aging. It is subtle, it is quiet, and if you learn to see it today, you may give yourself or someone you love a decade of protection. I am Dr. Victor Cole. I've spent more than 30 years as a neurologist studying the human brain and sitting across from thousands of families in the hardest moment of their lives. And I want to start with a confession because it changed how I practice medicine forever. Years ago, a woman I will call Margaret came into my clinic. She was 68. Her memory on every test I gave her was perfect. She scored higher than people half her age. Her daughter had dragged her in almost embarrassed, saying, "Mom is fine, but something is off." I almost sent them home. But that daughter said one sentence that stopped me cold. She said, "My mother gave money to a stranger on the phone last week. My mother, who counted every penny for 40 years. That was not memory, that was judgment. And 4 years later, Margaret was diagnosed with dementia. The daughter had seen the first sign 4 years before any doctor did. So before I go any further, I want you to do something for me right now. In the comments below, write the age of the person you are worried about. Just the number. Maybe it is you. Maybe it is your mother, your husband, your father. Write that age because I read these and it tells me who is watching and how urgent this is. And if this channel is new to you, tap subscribe now because I release one of these every week and the next one could be the one that protects your family. Now let me tell you how the brain actually breaks, because when you understand this, everything I am about to say will click into place. Think of your brain like a great city at night, lit up with millions of lights. Memory is the downtown district, the bright center everyone notices. But the disease does not start downtown. It starts in the quiet suburbs on the edge of the city, in the regions that control your personality, your judgment, your sense of smell, your mood, your ability to plan. Those neighborhoods go dark first, one streetlight at a time, and because they are on the edge, nobody notices for years. By the time the lights go out downtown, in the memory center, the darkness has already spread across half the city. That is why memory loss is not the beginning. Memory loss is the middle. So, let me walk you through the real early signs, the streetlights that flicker first, and I am going to count them down, because number 1 is the sign families miss most often, and it is the one that breaks my heart. Let me start with number 10, and work our way up. Number 10, a decline in personal hygiene and grooming. This is one people are ashamed to talk about. A man who shaved every single morning for 50 years suddenly goes 3 days without it. A woman who never left the house without her hair done stops caring. The brain region that drives motivation and self-monitoring is dimming. It is not laziness, it is neurology. If you notice a loved one slowly letting go of routines that were once sacred to them, write the word yes in the comments because you are not imagining it. Number 9, getting lost and losing the sense of time. Not forgetting where the keys are, but standing in a parking lot they have used for years and not knowing which way the car is, or losing track of whether it is morning or afternoon, whether an event was yesterday or last month. Spatial navigation lives in a region called the entorhinal cortex, and it is one of the very first areas the disease touches. So when someone starts feeling disoriented in familiar places, that is not clumsiness. That is an early streetlight going dark. Number 8, repeating the same questions or stories in a short window. Now, we all repeat a good story. That is human. But I mean asking, what time is the appointment, and then asking again 11 minutes later, and again with no memory of asking. This is one of the earliest cracks, and here is why it matters. The person almost never notices they are doing it. If you are the family member catching this, you are the early warning system. Trust it. Number 7, and this one is a cluster that neurologists take very seriously. It is 3 things that travel together: a loss of the sense of smell, acting out dreams during sleep, and a subtle change in the way someone walks. When these 3 appear together, they can point to a specific type called Lewy body disease. sometimes years before anything else. Losing your sense of smell, so coffee and roses just do not register the way they used to. Then, physically kicking, shouting, or punching during dreams when a sleeping body should be still, and a walk that becomes a little slower, a little more shuffling, arms swinging less. Individually, each has innocent explanations. Together, they are a red flag. If someone you love has lost their sense of smell, write smell in the comments right now, because most people have no idea this is connected to the brain at all. Number 6, new trouble finding words. Not forgetting a fact, but reaching for a common word and coming up empty. Calling a watch the thing on my wrist, pausing mid-sentence because the word for spoon simply will not come. The language centers are starting to struggle. Everyone blanks on a word now and then, especially when tired. But when it becomes a pattern, when conversations start to stall, that is the brain telling you something. Number 5, a new depression, apathy, or emotional flatness. This one is dangerous because we blame it on everything else. Retirement, loss of a spouse, just getting older. But a genuine, new onset depression in someone over 60, especially apathy, that flat, I just do not care about anything anymore feeling, can be one of the earliest signs of a changing brain. The circuits that generate motivation and joy are quieting. So please, do not ever dismiss depression in an older person as just part of aging. It deserves a real look. Number 4, trouble with what we call executive function. This is your brain's project manager, the part that plans, sequences, and follows steps in order. The classic early sign is cooking. A woman who cooked Sunday dinner for her whole family for 40 years suddenly cannot get everything to the table hot at the same time. She burns one dish while forgetting another. It is not that she forgot the recipe, it is that the ability to juggle steps in the right order is fading. Following a familiar recipe, balancing a checkbook, planning a trip, these are executive tasks and they falter early. Number 3, poor judgment and bad decisions, especially with money. This is Margaret. This is the street light that goes dark and nobody understands why. A careful person becomes reckless. They fall for a scam they would have laughed at a year ago. They give money away. They make a strange purchase, wear a heavy coat in summer, make a decision that just does not fit who they are. The brain's braking system, the part that weighs consequences, is losing power. This is why elder financial fraud is so often the very first visible sign of dementia. If someone in your life has recently made a money decision that shocked you, that is worth paying attention to, do not just be angry, be curious. And now number 2, a change in personality or in how they treat people. This is one of the most reliable early signals and one of the most painful. A gentle, patient man becomes irritable and suspicious. A social, warm woman becomes withdrawn and anxious. Someone who was always calm now snaps over nothing, or grows fearful or paranoid, convinced that people are stealing from them. Families often describe it in the same haunting way. He is just not himself anymore. When you hear yourself say that sentence, take it seriously because you are describing the frontal lobe, the seat of who a person is, beginning to change. And that brings me to number 1, the sign that families catch years before any doctor does, and the one I want you to remember most. Number 1 is what I call the family signal. It is this. The people closest to a person notice that something is wrong long before any test can measure it. Not a specific symptom, but a feeling. A wife who says, I cannot explain it, but my husband is different. A son who says, something is off and everyone tells me I am overreacting. In my 30 years, I have learned to trust that feeling more than almost any single test in those early years, because the person who has loved someone for 40 years is the most sensitive instrument in the room. So if that quiet voice inside you has been whispering that something is not right, please do not silence it. That voice is number 1. Write, I feel it in the comments if you know exactly what I mean. Now, if you have made it this far, do me a small favor and tap the like button because it genuinely helps me reach more families who need to hear this before it is too late. Thank you, because here is where I have to give you the other half of this. And it is the half that gives me hope, and it should give you hope too. Not everything that looks like dementia is dementia. Let me say that again, because it may be the most important sentence in this entire video. Not everything that looks like dementia is dementia. There is a whole group of conditions that imitate these exact signs: personality change, confusion, apathy, memory trouble, and here is the beautiful part. Many of them are completely reversible, treatable, curable even. And I have watched people written off as declining come all the way back once we found the real cause. Let me give you the ones I hunt for in every single patient. First, vitamin B12 deficiency. This is enormous, and it is common over 60 because the aging stomach absorbs it poorly. A low B12 can cause confusion, memory problems, mood changes, and an unsteady walk, looking exactly like early dementia. It is a simple blood test, and the treatment can be as easy as an injection or a pill. I have seen a man his family had given up on come back to himself within months because all along it was a vitamin. Second, the thyroid. An underactive thyroid slows the entire body, and it slows the brain right along with it. Fatigue, apathy, slowed thinking, forgetfulness. Again, a simple blood test. Again, treatable. I cannot tell you how many memory clinics a struggling patient visits before someone finally checks a thyroid level. Third, and this one is huge, medication side effects and interactions. This is the quiet epidemic in older adults. As we age, we accumulate prescriptions, and certain ones, some sleep aids, some bladder medications, some older allergy pills, some anxiety medications, can cloud thinking and mimic dementia perfectly. Sometimes the dementia clears up when we simply adjust or remove one pill. So please never stop a medication on your own, but do bring your full list to your doctor and ask, could any of these be affecting my thinking? Fourth, sleep apnea. When you stop breathing dozens of times a night, your brain is starved of oxygen over and over, and the daytime result is brain fog, poor memory, irritability, and low mood. Treat the apnea and the fog can lift. Fifth, something as simple as dehydration, which in an older adult can cause sudden confusion overnight, and infections, especially urinary infections, which can look like a dramatic sudden dementia and reverse completely with treatment. And I will add depression itself to this list because true depression can so perfectly imitate memory loss that we have a name for it, and treating the depression brings the mind back. Do you see why I do not let anyone accept the word dementia until we have hunted down every one of these? Because to miss a reversible cause is to let someone suffer for a problem we could have fixed. I once had a patient, a retired teacher named Raymond, whose family walked in convinced he had advanced Alzheimer's disease. He was confused, withdrawn, barely speaking. But something did not fit because it had all come on too fast. We checked, and his B12 was on the floor and his thyroid was sluggish. 12 weeks later, Raymond was reading the newspaper out loud to his grandchildren and arguing about politics at the dinner table. He was never demented, he was depleted. And the difference between those two words was a single blood test and a doctor who refused to give up. This is why the message today is not fear, it is action. So let me give you a clear plan, the exact steps I want you to take starting this week. Step 1, write things down. If you are worried about yourself or someone else, keep a simple diary for 2 weeks. Note the moments that feel off, with the date. Doctors are moved by patterns, not by a single anecdote. Step 2, book an appointment and bring that diary, and bring a family member who sees the person daily, because remember, the family is the #1 early warning system. Step 3, ask your doctor directly for the basic reversible workup. Ask out loud for a B12 level, a thyroid panel, and a review of every medication. Write those 3 things down so you do not forget in the room. Step 4, get sleep and hydration taken seriously and ask whether a sleep study makes sense. And step 5, the foundation under all of it, protect the brain every day. Move your body because what is good for the heart is good for the brain. Sleep deeply. Stay socially connected because loneliness is genuine poison to the aging brain. Keep learning something new and manage blood pressure and blood sugar because the research in journals like The Lancet and Neurology keeps pointing to the same truth. That much of our dementia risk is not written in stone. A large portion of it is shaped by how we live. Now I have to say the thing I say to every patient, I am a neurologist, but I am not your neurologist, and this video is education, not a diagnosis. Please do not use it to diagnose yourself or anyone else, and please do not change or stop any medication on your own. If anything here spoke to you, take it to a real doctor who can examine you and order the right tests. That is not fear talking. That is exactly how you get to the reversible causes in time. Let me leave you with this. The reason I made this video is that I have sat with too many families who said the same thing through tears. We saw it years ago. We just did not know what we were looking at. Now you know. You know that the first sign is not memory. It is judgment, personality, mood, smell, the way someone walks, and above all, that quiet feeling in the people who love them most. And you know that some of what looks like the end is actually something we can reverse. So here is what I ask. If this gave you even one moment of clarity, subscribe so you do not miss what comes next. Tap the bell so it actually reaches you. And share this with 3 people over 60, because one of them is sitting on a sign right now and calling it normal aging, and your share could be the reason a family acts in time instead of years too late. Next week, I am going to answer the question everyone asked me after this one. The exact daily routine that neurologists follow to protect their own brains as they age. The things I do every single morning. You will not want to miss it. And remember this, because it is the heart of everything I do. Paying attention is not fear. Paying attention is love. Noticing early is one of the most loving things you will ever do for the people you cannot imagine living without. I will see you in the next one.